easier.
Okay.
In Arabic language is very powerful language itself, like despite the fact of Quran. For example, in my language, which is Arabic, we have the roots of all the words, and the roots is very powerful, which is like the 3 letters of any words. For example, if I say
3 letters of what?
Of a word, 3 letters.
Okay.
It's we call it the roots. For example, if I say bab in Arabic, it have 4 letters, and it's exactly the meaning of bab. It's door. And let me just give you another example. Kitab meaning the book. And if I add 1 letter to that word in Arabic, I say only meme before kaf. I say maktab, that's mean a desk. If I added, I take 1 letter from it, an exact same root of the word, it will say for me written. So all of these words in English have different meaning or different words for in meaning of English, but in Arabic it have exactly the same roots and have only adding 1 letter or taking 1 letter give you another meaning of the word. That's what I mean about Arabic language is very powerful, and we don't have in English the same way.
Okay.
I hope that I get you the general idea of it. But what I mean is there's a lot of people, I will give you example out of that. There's a lot of people, they don't understand the word in Arabic. A lot of kids around the world who's like even under 10 years old, they memorize the Holy Quran in Arabic by heart in Arabic without understanding a word of it. It will not be possible to memorize 614 pages of Holy Quran for anybody who don't understand that language. But it happened millions of kids around the world and people around the world who memorize Quran in its actual language in Arabic, though their actual language is not Arabic.
It would seem that their time would have been better spent learning Arabic.
I agree with you. However, for us, if somebody memorized the Holy Quran, which my husband did, God bless him, which is really a great effort. We believe they are in the highest level.
It shows a commitment to the religion as opposed to the language.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wonder about with regard to Islam is I hear oftentimes Muslims say that Islam is the first feminist religion. Yes, it gives women rights, but it would seem that the rights that were granted to women 1,400 years ago are quite different, and maybe people in current day would consider them to be a lot less than what women have now.
I don't agree with that.
No? Okay.
The reason why I don't agree with that God who sent the Quran 1,400 years ago is the same God who's with us right now. He's the one who created us from Adam time.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but what I mean by less is, like, for example, my understanding in the Quran, it says, that sort of the man is over the woman.
That's not correct.
And like a man can beat his wife.
Well, that's some of the verses that people interpreted and wrongly, and that's not correct.
Okay.
So if you understand...
So let me just say what my understanding
Sure.
is, and then you maybe correct
Sure.
me. What I've thought I read was that, if your wife disobeys you, you admonish her verbally, and then if she continues to disobey you, then you don't sleep with her anymore. And then if she still disobeys you, then you are allowed to beat her with something smaller than the width of your finger.
That's correct. That's a verse in the Quran.
Okay.
However...
that for a woman today in modern society is unacceptable.
I agree.
That's not what they mean when they say women's rights, feminism, right? That's what I meant to ask you. It's impressive, no?
Yeah, this is very impressive. Do you mind if I just send text message from my husband? He called me
that's fine, yeah.
twice.
life for once in my myself.
Does it feel weird to wake up?
It's really weird. Really weird. I like it, but it's weird.
Yeah, to answer that, I don't know how can I describe this for you, but the verse you mentioned, the Quran, is completely right. However, my belief of the Quran and my religion that there is a lot of aspect in this life or in the Sharia give women a higher status than men. One of the aspects that a lot of Americans they don't know about, that as me and my husband, for example, in American society, everybody pay whatever their share of paying for the house or whatever.
Right.
And Islamic Sharia, or in my religion, the men pay everything as for the house or for going out or anything. Whatever I require for my life, he should pay for me. In the same time, he's not. And in American society, you have a shared account. My husband, he have no idea about any of my saving. So if you think about it in other lens, like my lens of this situation, that God who created me, he knows what is suitable for me, and he gave me all aspects of my rights from a man's side to my side completely. I will not focus on that verse of the Quran because nobody nowadays do that.
Yeah.
Even if it's still there, I don't know anybody in my society or in my family or in my community doing that.
Why would that be? That would seem, for example, it says in the Bible that you shouldn't eat shellfish, or you shouldn't wear cloth or clothing woven from two different cloths. Nobody pays attention to this anymore, right?
Right.
But it would seem to me if the claim is that the book is perfect,
Right.
that nobody would decide to overlook aspects
I
of
didn't
it.
say overlook aspect of that. I believe with that verse 110% from the Holy Quran that God sent it for us in that way. I didn't say to disregard it or look
Right.
at it in a different way, but what I'm saying is that God gave us 100% of my share in this life, right? I will describe it for you. For example, if God gave you as individual a good health, 40%, and give you 20% of your life as a good income for you, and then he took from you having kids or whatever, like the other percent. But however, God gives you the 100% of your share. You have 100% of your equal giving from God. And that's exactly how I believe of it. God gave me, for example, maybe 60% of having fulfilling life or having a good family on a good connection family, but he did not give that for other people. God gave me that share in my life from the Holy Quran completely 100%. And I believe that God is justice. He don't put any verse in that Quran, in that holy book, without it to have a purpose of it.
Right, I see. So, would it be fair to say that in the same way that he grants individuals certain things according to what they need, he has granted rights to men and women and children according to what they need?
Correct.
So the perception in Western culture that women should, and you correct me if I'm wrong here too, under Sharia marriage, a man can say, I divorce you 3 times, and he's divorced, and a woman does not have that same right.
Correct.
But in the West, either party can get divorced for whatever reason, whenever they want.
Still, in Islamic Sharia, I could get out of the marriage by doing another kind of divorce, going to the court and apply for divorce and get it out there. So there is an equal right, but people get only what the media want them to see. But if you understand the basic foundation of Islam and read it really deeply and understand all the right and giving for my side, you will see that it's completely right, and I have no objection. Like, I understand that men can say like the word of like I divorce you and it would be over of marriage, but as well as God give him that right, give me the same right to say, okay, I don't want to stay in this marriage. It happened in Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, time, and a woman came to him say like, I could not stand my husband. He's a good husband, but I could not stand him. I want to get out of the marriage.
But
And then he asked her like, did he do you wrong? He like treat you unpurely and stuff like this. She said, no, he's completely good man, but I could not stand living with him.
But so it's correct, my understanding, that a woman has to do different things to get a divorce than
yeah.
a man has to do.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's, God described this for us. in the
Right.
Holy
That's what I
Quran.
was trying to say. Like, there is a distinction, but like the rights of men and the rights of women are not the same
Yeah, because we are different.
because they're different. Right. Okay.
And because God created us differently, and God knows how He created us differently, He put these rules that it's valid for any time and any like society. That's is exactly how the society will be fulfilled.
Let me ask you, why is there a split between the Shia and the Sunni?
It happened a long time ago, but they claim, the Shia, that the prophecy have to go to certain
By
people.
family.
Exactly, by
Yes.
family.
No,
And
I understand this. The reason, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, it would seem that, so how does there if the book is perfect and explains everything clearly, why would there be this split?
It happened not only with Islamic faith, it happened with Christianity and with Judaism. There's people who came along and Satan misguided them certain way. So you cannot control people belief. But if they believe with the Holy Quran and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is their last prophet, it's up to God by the day of judgment to judge them if they go right or wrong. But there is a law of Shia, sector of Shia, that they do a law of things is not from Islam. For example, in Ashura, they start beating themselves with these like sharp things,
Right.
and claiming that they cleansing their body from what they did in the past, and that's completely wrong, and that's not from Islam.
And this is another one more question I wanted to ask is there are Muslims who follow only the Quran, right? And then there's the Hadith, which is not the Quran. And I'm a little bit confused about, for example, the headscarf, I believe, is from the Hadith and not the Quran.
That's not correct.
That's not correct, okay.
There is a verse from the Quran, God say clearly in that verse that ask believer women to cover their head. And that's more righteous for them not to be known or be heard from others. And that it's written
To be
in
heard?
hurts. Somebody hurts them.
Oh, I see, okay.
And it's a verse from the Holy Quran, and it's not from the Hadith.
Okay, my mistake.
Yeah.
But then maybe that's a bad example. But there are. Why is it that some people follow the Hadith and give credence to the Hadith and others don't?
There is a verse from the Quran to answer that, saying that whoever follow me is a believer, and that's referred to Prophet Muhammad, peace
Right.
be upon him. So God say you should follow my teaching in the Quran and follow my Prophet Muhammad. And whoever don't follow Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he's not from Muslims. So you cannot be a Muslim without following the Quran and Hadith. And I will complete that point saying that in the Quran, God asked us to pray. But He did not teach us how to pray. And that it's not complete picture unless Prophet Muhammad came and teach us that. And that's the Hadith. He teaches us exactly how to stand up to pray, how to prepare yourself to pray, and all of these details. So if you do not follow the Hadith and the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, you will not be complete Muslim. How are you going to pray only following the Quran. God told you in the Quran to pray, but He did not describe for you how to pray.
But is it the case that the hadith is not perfect? Is that right? Because I know there are strong hadith, weak hadith.
I agree with you. There is, however, there is Sahih Bukhari.
Right, I'm familiar.
Bukhari is the one of the authentic book of the hadith.
Right.
So, but they're always the reason why we do not have.
And so Sahih Islam is not as
Sahih what?
Sahih Islam, I think, is another hadith.
There is Muslim, Sahih
Muslim. That's one.
And
yes,
Bukhari.
Forgive me. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's fine, totally fine. But what I'm saying here that in the time Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, for example, to understand every point you raised today, if you go back and study the history and understand the actual root of it, you will understand why there's different or why your question come along. So to go back to why there is like authentic hadith and some like so and so hadith. By the time of Prophet peace be upon him, people trying to write his hadith, and he stopped them, and he was strong with his opinion, saying like don't write anything, because he don't want people to confuse between Quran and hadith and what his word with God words and get confused. Until he God completed the Holy Quran and it's been written and it's been completed, I think, and in the time of Uthman, if I'm not mistaken, the third Khalifa of Muslims, he requested to write the hadith and he allowed to write the hadith at then. Because the Quran was written many copies and being distributed all over and people memorize it by heart. There's no way somebody will come and confuse that. But at that time, after like 3 Khalifa came, there's a lot of people who've been with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, died or they're not there anymore. So the hadith that being collected then, some of them people say like, okay, I hear him saying that, I see him saying that. So they will go around and see if this hadith is authentic or not. Is this correct or not? And the main book that we have in our hands right now have the most authentic hadith is Sahih Bukhari. And Bukhari, if you believe it or not, he traveled all around Arabian Peninsula. Traveled like all his life, going like he could travel, I would say, miles and miles, hundreds of miles away to see if this hadith is authentic or not. And I will mention one story. It's very profound story of him. He traveled, I believe, from Mecca to Baghdad, from Saudi Arabia to Iraq. And imagine at that time, how long is that trip will take? Yeah. And he went to this specific person. He said, like, he have a hadith of Prophet Muhammad. He hear it. Then he want to write it on authentic, and he want to ask him. And he saw him carrying his donkey with a carrot until the donkey get to where he want him to get. Then he didn't give him the carrot. Right. He returned. He did not take the hadith from him. Because he studied not only the hadith, he studied how people behave who give him the hadith. If they are not good people or not behavior people or not like fully like righteous and good people, he will not even write that hadith in his book.
Permit me to ask one more thing. So, if I understand correctly, Muhammad died because he was poisoned, right?
Well, he died. There is authentic hadith saying that when he died, he mentioned that he still tastes the poison that he ate from that Jewish woman,
right?
That she fed him.
But
he died because God written for him to die in that specific day, that specific time, right. That specific condition.
But it is this animosity that the world experiences between Jews and Muslims. Partly is maybe, and I know that I think I know that there is a verse in the Quran that says, on the day of judgment, there's a tree, and the trees and the rocks will scream out that there is a Jew hiding behind them.
That's not in the day of judgment.
That
will be
in the end time.
In the end time, where the big fight will be,
yes.
and Jesus, peace be upon him, will come to lead righteous people, and people will fight all over. People look.
Yeah.
So Yeah, and Palestine, which is Israel right now,
Right.
there is like a tree, specific tree, and it's known right
Right,
now.
yeah.
It will say like, "Come, there is a Jew behind me,"
Hiding.
or
Come and kill the
disbeliever.
Jew, yeah.
It's not Jew. I would correct that. I would say there's a disbeliever behind me.
But it is also to kill them, right?
Yeah, to kill them. Yeah,
Right.
but I will correct that. That's not a Jew specifically. It's a disbeliever. So the big fight in the end of the time will be from righteous people, believer people, and disbeliever.
All right. Well, I appreciate you stopping. Is there
Sure.
anything you want to add before
No,
we
not
wrap
at
up?
all. But I will advise you if you would like to read more about that, and specifically about the miracle of Quran. There is a very nice booklet, say like miracle of Quran, and it describes a lot of like scientific miracle of Quran that it's proving that this religion is the true religion. from God.
Okay. Well, I'll check it out. I have read the Quran and a little bit of the Hadith, but not much.
Yeah, I understand. Well,
But,
I appreciate your time that you take to, enlighten
Yeah, yeah.
yourself and others as well.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you stopped.